Welcome back to Brush Up Your Game. I'm David, and this is the Avengers First Class Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver villain version. And yeah, one of the rare team up villains. We've got a few. The Toad Pyro Blob trio fight. Season 3 brings a few more, but this one's a unique one. Came in the first class expansion, like I mentioned, and it makes sense, right? The twins, and what you need to know for setup is the two of these start in the same location, and then everybody else is starting directly across from them. Well, okay, not too bad, nothing crazy here to start with. Um, Thugs and civilians are going to be added based on Quicksilver's location. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver uh, have to both be defeated in order to win. When one of them is defeated, they stay in play, act normally, and that's because you still have to drop uh, thugs and civilians, as based on Quicksilver. Uh, and the heroes, yeah, when a hero's KO'd, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver don't activate their BAMs. Instead, you draw a Master Plan card added face down. And that's true for Overflow as well. So both of these characters are saying, yeah, we're speeding this game up. If you don't attack these two characters quickly, you're going to be in some trouble. Now, they don't take that much damage. In a two character game, you got 2 health for Scarlet Witch, 3 for Quicksilver. In a 3 character game, it's 3 health for Scarlet Witch, 4 health for Quicksilver. And in a 4 character game, it's 4 health for Scarlet Witch and 6 health for Quicksilver. I think that's going to be your toughest way to play because they're speeding up, they're doing a lot. Um, but here's the real challenge: is even though there's not a lot of health, you might find yourself needing way more punches, and we'll get to that in a moment. So, what are they actually doing? Well, on a BAM, and they're both going to BAM, but Quicksilver is going to deal a damage to each hero in locations that he left, entered, or moved through this turn. And Scarlet Witch is going to deal 1 damage to each hero in her location and adjacent locations. So she's hitting half the board, Quicksilver's hitting a decent chunk of the board. So heroes are likely going to be hit twice. And that leads to a lot of KOs, which leads to a lot of face down master plan cards. What it means is you can't depend on like regenerative healing factor from a Wolverine type character or beast, something like after the villains go draw 1 card. That alone is not going to save you from these knockouts. I think what ends up being more helpful are the characters that say ignore 1 damage. Because you're not taking a lot of damage, if you can ignore 1, you're going to help yourself out a decent amount. So let's talk. We'll get to the threats here. Let's talk movement cards, master plan cards, and I want to start it off with these. Quicksilver moves 6, doesn't BAM, but he does. He deals 1 damage to each hero in the game, and it gets worse. He can't take any damage until the next villain turn. So he basically says, "Yeah, I'm moving so fast, I'm immune. You can't catch up to me." That's one of the roughest cards in the game because if you draw that late, you're in a very tough position, and I think that's all the more reason in order to be really effective against these two, you need some master plan scouting, and you go and you look, and if you see one of these cards, you just have to take it. Unless you're in a position where you can win. And then you say, okay, fine, we'll bottom it. Then then that's just kind of how you get around it. But you kind of have to sit here and go, having a villain that's immune from damage, there's so many worse things that can happen. Knowing that's going to come up at some point uh, is not good. But the worst card, or the worst time for this card, is the last card in the deck. So if we see it early, well, we already couldn't attack Quicksilver. So what's the harm in it? There isn't any. We're just all going to take a damage. Big whoop. Nothing's going out. There's no overflow, and there's no further penalty. So we have to weather the storm on two of these. We might as well weather one early. Wanda's card, Scarlet Witch's card, the reality warping here. Let me zoom in a little more so we can really read this. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are placed in their starting location at full health. Then face down master plan cards are shuffled back into the deck. So we get a little bit more time here as heroes. This isn't all bad. Heroes go back to their starting location, and each hero with less than 3 cards in hand draws cards from the start of the storyline. Yeah, the start of the storyline. Until they have 3 cards in hand. So the cards you play early, you're going to see again. And characters with duration cards, I'm going back to Wolverine, the regenerative healing factor, you don't want that out right away because now you just have to play it again. And that can be unfortunate. Now, granted, it's going right back to your hand so you can play it again. But a lot of times these start card effects with persistent abilities are not the best cards to play for their symbols. So having them kind of clutter your hand might not be the best effects early on. Or they were fine to play early, but now they're not fine to play midway through the game. And Scarlet Witch is just kind of going, I got you. Yeah. This is a weird card, and it never comes out at the right time. If it comes out early, it comes out early, and it doesn't have any effect on you. And so, from that standpoint, there's luck in this fight, just like there's luck in every fight. But, yeah, if you get this one late, you're in a world of hurt. That's just kind of how it goes. Other cards that we're faced with, they're both going to move and drop out some bad guys. There's nothing you can really account for in these cards. The nice thing is Quicksilver's never dropping a lot of civilians or thugs. It's the most he's ever dropping is 2 in his location and 1 in each adjacent. And that helps us a lot. That prevents or minimizes overflow. I'm not going to say it completely prevents it. But I just look at this and I kind of track Quicksilver's movement. He's moving a lot of the board. He does not have a move 0. The only time he's going to end up back where he started is on his specials. But on those specials, he's still going to do damage. So basically, on the rest of the cards, he's going to find a way to do damage to a bunch of characters. It's chip damage, right? It's this idea of death by 1,000 cuts and those repeated KOs, knocking characters out, putting the face down master plan card down, and speeding up the deck is how Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are trying to win. These two are designed to separate and to cover a lot of the board at the same time. I haven't done the full math of permutations, and it's impossible because there's a lot of different ways these cards can come out. But very rarely are they going to line back up. So they're almost always going to be covering different parts of the map, which means everybody's taking damage. And I look at that and I go, okay, I, I gotta bring characters that are able to resist some of the damage. Maybe it is Wolverine drawing a card at the end. Maybe it's an Adam Warlock who, if I can get lucky and draw my special, I'm not going to get knocked out. Now, I understand that's cheesing the scenario. But if you end up struggling with this one, then Adam Warlock is the answer to your trouble. Not the lone answer, but is definitely an answer. Yeah, it's this is one of those fights where movement is a big help. Uh, you could even bring in your own Quicksilver, the hero Quicksilver, to fight the enemy Quicksilver. It's a parallel universe. Why not? Uh, you could bring Angel. I think the first class team can handle these characters pretty well. Not perfectly, but pretty well. Uh, they don't have the healing modifications. You're going to get a lot of knockouts. Uh, and you just kind of have to do the best with it that you can. Uh, I like Professor X in this, right? It's a thematic professor trying to rein in his students who have gone rogue or trying to recruit them, and they just don't want to cooperate. Um, and I think characters who have range attacks, a Cyclops, a Captain Marvel, an Iron Man, those are characters that are going to help you. Even like Storm, again, these the ability to attack where you aren't is going to help you chase these down because Quicksilver is moving a lot, and if you try to waste all your movements getting after them, you're gonna run out of movement. And then you probably have used all your punches, and then we're going to get a reality warp that brings everybody back to full health. And at that point, if you don't have the punches to get back to knocking these villains out, you've lost the game. So I think you're kind of left with tokens, some way to generate some tokens. Be it a location effect or character effects, are going to be helpful as well. And I will always default to saying Spider-Man, but I think the Spider-Man locations, the Into the Spider-Verse locations, are also really good because you can bring in the location that gives you a movement token, and you can bring in the location that gives you a punch token. And if you have those two, you're in a good spot. But we haven't talked about these. We have not talked about our threat cards. So let's get into those. Sibling Bond. There's two of those. There's going to be 2 Troubled Loyalty and 2 Chaos Magic. So Sibling Bond, 3 Heroics. As long as this threat's in play, whenever Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver would be defeated, they go back to 1 health instead. Well, we got to clear those out. Otherwise, we're not winning. So that's a no-brainer. Troubled Loyalty is a 4 heroic, and when this threat is cleared, delay the next villain turn by 1. We don't have to clear those. In fact, we would never want to clear those when Quicksilver specials come up where he can't be attacked or can't take damage for the round. So we'll wait on those. But a cool effect if we can do it, and definitely worth the extra heroic. Because I'll take another hero turn. That's awesome. And then Chaos Magic. Heroes starting their turn in this location must play their card randomly. Then place 1 heroic token from the pool on this card. So we can kind of say, you know what, I'm okay with whatever happens. Uh, and if a whole bunch of characters just start their turn here, I'm good. Um, right? It leads to chaos, but then I never actually have to spend my heroic actions to clear this card, or very few of them. And I can just let whatever happens happen. It's it's kind of a no lose situation. It's just time to go to that location and let whatever happens happen. Uh, and if you get heroics when you go there, great, you can clear it up. And if um, you don't lose much unless you really want access to the location. So I think in terms of actually attacking these characters, you want to well, you have to take out the sibling bonds. You want to take out troubled loyalty because that's a benefit to us. If you take out chaos magic, it helps, but it's not needed. Uh, and then I think do we get the exact same number of stuff here? We get 4, 7, 10, 13 thugs, and we get 4, 8, 11, 14 civilians. So basically the same numbers. It's going to depend on the order that they come out. I think you can pick and choose if you want to go civilians or thugs. And it's going to depend on your character selection. If you have uh, more punches, you're going to need your punches for Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, knocking them out. I think it also depends on how quickly you get those reality warpings. If you get them early and you haven't spent punches attacking the villains, then you're home free. You can go. If you have attacked them and and you're running low on punches, then you're in trouble, and you want to uh, lean more towards the civilians. Of course, you will have already unlocked two threat cards or mission objective cards, so you'll have already made that choice. But I guess that's the thing. So if reality warping comes out early, then you can go for thugs. If it doesn't come out early, and what do I mean by early? Like in the first 4 cards. Deck's 12 cards, Master Plan Deck's 12 cards. You've got 2 copies of this. So if you see one in the first 4, then you're on track for an early game, a quick game with reality warping. You hope to see the other one again by like card 7 or 8, or not see it at all. Uh, if you can bury a reality warp, that's even better. So, um, yeah. So I look at this and I go, okay, what's my like perfect team to try to take these two out? I think you can do it with a Black Widow or Black Widow like character who can scout the Master Plan deck. I always default to her because she's in the core set, Avenger core set, and readily available. Then I think you go for um, I think you go for Wolverine to heal, not get a bunch of KOs. And Wolverine is fairly balanced with heroics and punches, oddly enough. Um, and then I think the third thing you do is you bring First Class Angel, who can give you movement and um, and a decent choice of heroic and punches, um, and try that team out. I think that one has some good potential. If you have access to the season 1 promo box, you could try Quicksilver, heroic Quicksilver instead of Angel. That would be a nice trade off as well. But it's a choice. It's a choice you make, and you could go that route. And it's just down to what you do. Hero Juggernaut could also play if you have that promo. I think Colossus could as well, because he has some mitigate damage cards. I think the Thing would work as well. These are all characters that take a little less damage. So those are some ideas. I wouldn't play all of those. I'd play a mix of them. Uh, but yeah, hopefully that helps some ideas of what Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver that fight's like, how to approach it, who to play against, who to use to beat him. But yeah, that's my advice. Hopefully it helps, and thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Until next time, keep brushing up your game. Take care.